Awesome. Brilliant. So we are into the podcast today. Got a very special guest with me. I've already done the intro and gassed him up 100,000 times.
And I
This
haven't
is
paid
my
him a
man.
penny.
No, well, that's what you're going to pretend to say, aren't you? Obviously. So I've got my man Jordan Harry here. I've already introduced him. He is TEDx speaker, over 1 million views, which is absolutely incredible. He empowers 10,000 people across 147 countries. This guy is honestly a legend. Plus, he's sporting excellence as well. We all know that. Um, Go to uni together. He's just a great friend of mine, all round good guy.
Oh,
Yes,
a
he
lot.
didn't even say that. So, Jordan, thanks for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. You are the very first guest from afar on the podcast. Like, it's
Man.
a pleasure.
I don't know if I should be honored or scared because there's a lot that could go wrong right now. But no,
I'm
super excited.
like I said before, we got past kind of like all the technological details, so I
That's
think we're
right.
doing okay. But
Fantastic.
I want to give you 30 seconds, maybe more if you're lucky, just to tell me, who is Jordan Harry? What is Jordan Harry all about? Background, however, give me your life story.
Wow, we're
Go.
about to get deep.
Yeah, man.
My name's Jordan Harry, and if you couldn't tell, I'm from Britain, very posh accent. I never used to speak like this, though, and I'll tell you why. And what I
Awesome.
do day to day is I teach people how to become speed readers and memory experts. So they can learn anything faster. I have an obsession with learning new things, but learning them as quick and as effective as possible. So that really coincides what I do on a daily basis. When I'm not teaching people how to become speed readers and remember more, I do martial arts, I give public talks, I have a social life on the weekend. So I try to encourage people you can be multi-dimensional.
Awesome. I love that. I think that was a perfect way to finish that 30 seconds. You got it all in time. So congratulations to you. I don't think I could be able to do that in 30 seconds. I'd probably just ramble
Hey,
on.
I'm well trained, I'm well trained.
So I think the first place I want to start with is, I mean, you touched on it already, is, your speech. I'm assuming that was kind of like one of the main driving forces between all of this. So you mentioned you do speed reading. Can we just get a background on how that came about? Because it's not something that I think a lot of people will have heard of or recognize. I mean, to be honest, I certainly didn't know about it until I met you. So if you could give us the background between how all that started, that'd be fantastic.
And it's weird. I love hearing that when people are like, "Oh, what's speed reading?"
Oh, absolutely no clue. I was telling my
Yeah,
family and friends yesterday before I jumped onto this podcast, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I was like, well, listen to the podcast, you'll find out. So,
and at the beginning, I loved that. I was like, "Yeah, keep it a secret,"
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I generally didn't want anyone to know of it. And every time someone said they didn't, I thought, "You're my client." But
Awesome.
I want that to change. I want people to be like, "Oh, you do speed reading? Oh, yeah, that's what John High does. Oh, okay, that's what so and so does." There's quite a few people that do it, unless
Yeah.
you know it's easy. So, I get asked this question a lot of times, and I'm always loved in this podcast because it forces me to reflect on
Hmm.
where I've come from. And the same story which you'll hear on my TED talk is it was my speech impediment.
Plug. Cool.
Very subtle.
It'll be linked down below, guys. Don't worry.
Thank you, my man. But what you'll find is that there's no one defining moment that sets it all off. Thomas, I'll ask you a question. Hope you don't mind.
Of course.
Um, have you ever been in love?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay,
have.
yeah, as in the big smile. I think we've discussed this before.
We did.
Yeah. And
If she's
you know,
listening, I'm fucked. By the way, swearing is allowed on the podcast if
oh, that's
necessary.
fucking beautiful.
There we go. Cool.
Now, what I realized was it kind of relates to Simon Sinek, and he was talking about this theory of love. And Thomas, I'll use you as a dummy. Do you remember the exact moment you fell in love? Like she did something, or you woke up in the morning and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in love
Um, I wouldn't say there was an exact moment,
now." Mm,
but I would kind of say there was like almost like a pin drop when I was a bit like, oh, okay, maybe like it just became overwhelming. I wouldn't say it was love because I
yeah,
think, to be honest, you can only think about that in hindsight.
of course.
In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
But there was a moment I was just like, oh, damn, like you could, you've really got me.
Yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean? I
of
do remember
course.
it absolutely. Yeah,
But
yeah.
she didn't do something, which was like, yeah, you wash the dishes, I love you now. It.
I mean, it wasn't that obviously,
No.
but it was more like I think we were just watching a film,
Mm,
and we were watching our favorite film, which is 10 Things I Hate About You. God, it's because I remember it so clearly actually. So you might be right. And then I just said something and she just looked at me in some way and it was just like, oh my God, like yeah, totally in love. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, there was kind of a pinpoint moment. Oh, putting
Ah.
me on the spot, bro.
But don't worry, because what you'll find is not many people can pinpoint the exact moment they fell in love.
Mhm.
And in that one moment, what you said wasn't like the defining factor.
No, it wasn't.
It was
Absolutely
just
not.
like, oh wow, I've been in love with you for the past month. I just didn't realize it, or however long,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So what they say is, if I said to you, Thomas, I went on a date last week with a girl and completely in love with her, what would you say to me? It's the first date. What would you say?
I'm like, bro, it's too soon.
Yeah, of course, naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I'd been with her and say it was our ninth year anniversary tomorrow, and I'm not in love with her yet, what would you say?
You're wasting your time.
Wasting my time. Exactly right. So Simon Sinek, he said somewhere between the first date and the ninth anniversary is where you fall in love.
Wow. That's a
Right?
long period.
Yeah. But it's the idea that, there's no defining one moment or kind of quantifiable number to say, yeah, you will be in love with someone within 2 years. Because some people do fall in love on the first date, some people fall in love after 9 years. To bring it back to, of course, my business is, I get asked this question, what was the defining moment? What made you realize?
Mhm.
And really, there's a series of moments, but of course, that last one you remember.
Yes,
You remember
of
watching the
course.
TED talk on why you should read a book a day. And
Mhm.
then I was like, yeah, let me start a business on speed reading. But it wasn't that one talk. And just like when you spoke to your girlfriend watching that film,
Mhm.
it wasn't that one moment that made you love her. It was kind of the match. It
Yeah.
was mission to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, the kind of quick story, growing up in a predominantly black area in Essex,
Okay.
I then moved to Norfolk, which is predominantly white. It's a big culture shift.
Yeah, absolutely. That must have been tough.
Mm. And a teacher said to me, yeah, because I always felt like he picked on me. And whenever we were in groups, I was always the one being pulled out of class.
Mhm.
He said,
Okay.
Jordan, you stand out. And I knew what he meant by that, right? And he said, but you need to make sure you stand up for the right reasons. So here's this teacher who I thought, hated me, playing the race card because I'm black. But actually, he was trying to teach me a very, very valuable lesson at a very young
Absolutely.
age, at the age of 12, that you have to
That young.
understand. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
you have to
Okay.
understand that you are a young, big black man and that people are going to stereotype you because our brain, getting geeky, we have prejudices because our brain wants to be
Absolutely.
efficient. Our brain, coming back to survival instincts, we don't want to spend a lot of time thinking, is this person in front of us a threat? Can I trust them? Can they help me? We want to be able to look at someone and be like, yep, they can help me. They're a threat. Run away.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to change the narrative of what it meant to be a young black man. So when I was the age of 12, I thought, okay, let's get rid of this whole slang talking because this is rubbish. Let's actually learn to articulate myself. Let's
Absolutely.
start to read. Let's start to get on with my teachers because I'm deemed as a cool kid. So surely if I dress smart and I start learning,
Mm.
maybe that can be a knock-on effect to my friends and the rest of the school. Um, I went on to be, head boy, and showed people like it's cool, to
Oh
be involved
yeah.
in
Awesome.
studies.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then, of course, yeah, as I continued, I had this speech impediment where I couldn't say my S's or F's. My mum, being a mama's boy, took me to speech therapy, drilled that out of me, but ultimately that affected my reading speed. And I only noticed when I got to uni, when, of course, going to the University of Bath, whoop, whoop,
Best one.
that's right, or Bath, depends on where you're from.
No, it's Bath. It's
It's
definitely
Bath.
Bath. It's definitely Bath.
That I was way behind my peers.
Wow.
So me
Okay.
and my dyslexic housemate, and I'll tell you why that's relevant in a moment,
Awesome.
we just Googled how to read faster. Started watching videos, went to the library, bought loads of books on it, um, and that's how the journey started. Um,
That's
but
brilliant.
to kind of fast forward, how we run our first workshop, I set up a Facebook event page, no content, just some good copy saying what would be covered.
Oh yeah.
We printed off some paper leaflets. I stood outside the library from like 5 to God knows when.
Um.
Handed these leaflets out saying, £9 a session. The room hadn't been booked either
No.
because
God,
at the
that's.
uni you can't book a room
Yeah, I
and
know.
charge.
I know.
So it was like location TBC. Here's the Facebook link on a leaflet.
Damn.
How are people meant to click?
That's awesome. That's how it kind of all starts out. You hear all
Yeah.
these crazy stories, and this is just one of them. I think it's fantastic.
And then the final point before we move on is, we started putting off stickers, and of course we had the leaflets, our paper leaflets. And we
Awesome.
started leaving them on top of microwaves, and I was like, the marketing rule book said people have got to see it like 9 times or 7 times.
Yeah.
So I started giving these stickers and leaflets to girls, and I said to them, like, go into the girls' toilets, put them in the cubicles, put them on the sinks. Yeah, we were sticking them all over the place. People don't even know what the
What you
logo
gotta
meant.
do. Well, they do now.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's the cool thing. It must be
That
quite
is,
cool to look back on it and think, wow, like how far it's come.
for
But
sure.
yeah, sorry, back to the story.
Yeah. So that's it really. From the moment of being, a young black man who thought being a little thug was cool because I was the cool kid at school, to then being this geeky kid who everyone still respected, to then getting to uni and realizing, I'm way behind my peers, to then just asking and being
Mhm.
curious, to finally, of course, trying to start a business, but realizing I was working too goddamn hard for £9.
Hell yeah, absolutely,
But
absolutely.
that work ethic has not changed. I've just gotten smarter.
Yeah, no, I can attest to that. Absolutely. You're one of the hardest working people I know. The way you manage to juggle things, which is something I do want to touch on.
Mm,
Um, what I think is great about what you just said is that it seems you could have taken and reacted to all these kind of situations in any type of way. And I think a lot of people would have taken the situation that you were put in, being moved to a predominantly white area, then having these teachers come out and speak to you and, being subject to prejudice in some ways, I
yeah.
suppose. You could have reacted to that terribly. You could have, felt it was all about you, and you could have felt
Mm,
that you could have dug yourself into a hole.
yep.
But I love the way that you took that and you were like, do you know what? I want to improve. You came
Yeah.
to uni, you felt like you were behind. And I definitely know what that's like. It was a culture shock for me, being one of the most intelligent people at school and then going to the University of Bath, and then you're up against, and the competition is so fierce because
Yeah.
it is, you're all competing really, and to feel like you're behind in any way, shape or form is going to be difficult.
Mm,
And I love the way that you took the best route, in my opinion. To say, okay, curiosity, where can I go from this? And you just
yeah.
did it. And I feel like speed reading, like, was that kind of like it just seems so far out there to me that you would choose speed reading.
Of all
I was
things,
wondering
yeah.
if you could. I know it sounds like a very simple concept, reading fast, but I know from the talks that you've done at university and the workshops and things that you've done that is far, far more than that. So if you could just give an overview to the guys of like what actually is speed reading, because I'm sure there's so many more. It's not just a simple manner; it's
Yeah.
very, very wide and contextual.
Of course, thank you. There's two things I really want to cover there, because I really want to bring some practical, advice to the people
Brilliant, that'd
listening
be
and
great.
watching.
Yeah.
So the first one is kind of for the entrepreneurs or the people who are thinking about starting out, thinking that it's called imposter syndrome, that
Yes.
this amount, and if you're watching, if you're not listening, if you're not watching, I'm just doing a small circle, that this amount, and that everyone else knows that amount. And if you're listening, I'm now showing a bigger circle.
Big circle. Yeah.
Big circle, small circle. So the idea is that you know nothing compared to the audience, when
Hmm.
in actual fact, all you need to know is a little bit more than your target audience,
Hmm.
and you can deliver a product or service.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I started out, I thought I can't do this because one, I'm 18, you know, all the other speed readers. Let's look at teachers in general
Okay.
are 18 and above, they're not
Yeah,
18.
absolutely.
Number two, not many of them look like me in the sense of not many of them are of ethnic diversity.
Mhm.
They all have good beards. Mine's coming along. They
Don't
all
worry,
have
we'll get there, mate.
they all have PhDs.
Mhm.
They all are specialists in their fields with 20 years experience. But here's this 18-year-old who's read a couple of books, and now I want to charge people money.
Mhm.
And for myself, at least, I thought, what makes me qualified to do this? And I think I got that at the beginning, because at the beginning, you don't have the 10,000 students. At the
No.
beginning, you don't have the 1 million views. You don't have the beautiful list of clients. So how do you get started? Well, for those listening, number one, offer your services for free. There'll be very few companies that will say no to free support.
Of
If
course.
you approach Google, Deloitte, government, blah, blah, blah. Go high, go to the top, go close to the sun and say, hey, I'd love to deliver our training for free. We would love to give you one of our t-shirts for free. What's great about that is you can now put that client on your website. You can now say in your
Hmm.
next business meeting, you have
Social
worked with
proof.
Google. Yeah. And yes, okay. Is it a white lie? No. And I'm going
No,
to say
of
no
course it's not.
because if they ask you, was it paid work? Then of course, be honest.
Yes.
But when you say you've worked with Google, yes, Google have given you permission, given you the thumbs up to come into their office and of course communicate a message to the audience or to give a product to them. So 100% you have worked with them. Okay, if the conversation, which it never has, gone to is it paid, then you have to be honest. The other
Absolutely.
thing, what makes you different will make you succeed. So, we're talking about, why speed reading for me? No one looks like what I look like doing what I do.
Mm.
Touch wood. What's great is, okay, there's many people that won't come towards me because I swear, because I think I have a good sense of humor, because I keep it very simplistic, right?
Yeah. Mm.
But yet there's another audience who just gravitate towards me and love me. And there's a book called 100 True Fans. They were
Never
saying,
heard of it.
and don't worry, you don't have to read it. I'm about to give you it.
Do you know
So,
what? I'm going to add it to the collection anyway.
but for those that haven't read the book, the principle's simple. You don't need 1 million fans. You don't need 10K followers on Instagram. My Instagram, I think I have about 5,000 right now,
Yeah.
which is an okay number, right? But old me would have been like, I need 10,000. I need 20,000.
Well, it's just an arbitrary number, really.
It is. It is. And it's a happiness. You think once you attain it, that you'll be happy. But
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
momentarily. And what you'll find is those 5,000 people, I'd say 3,000 of them are my true fans. 3,000 of them have bought. 3,000 of them now tell their friends. 3,000 of them are my advocates.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can find 100 people that love what you do, you will have a very profitable business. Thomas, if you had 100 sponsors sponsoring your podcast, I don't know what you do with the money.
I mean, I'd probably cry to begin with. I'd be like, what the hell? But yeah,
Yes.
no, absolutely. I think that's just, something that's raging within
Mm.
contemporary society. It's just a number. It's just a number. And in fact, Facebook and Instagram announced the other day that they're going to be hiding
Get rid of
likes
likes. Yeah.
completely, which I think is fantastic because it's just a number. It doesn't mean anything. But like you said, it's those customers that I mean, there's like what 8 billion people, 9 billion people on this planet.
Yep.
You only need that small percentage that are going to continue to come back, recommend you, and I don't want to say the word, but almost be loyal.
Loyalty is
That's
correct.
that's important.
Yeah. And I think if you're starting out, this is mainly for those starting out, but it's not too late for those who started. But if you can operate from a position of abundancy as
Yeah,
opposed to scarcity in the sense of, oh my
yeah.
God, there's only 5 people out there who will buy my products, or I need to get them first. If you can get 5 companies in the Southwest, you have a
Hmm.
very good business.
I think another thing to note there is that
Yeah.
you've got, if you're looking at it from an abundancy aspect, you've got those 5 clients.
Mm.
Do the best damn job you can.
Yeah.
Because service and quality of service and the quality of what you do will trump
Mm.
anything. If you deliver them a fantastic service, they're going to go and tell their friends, they're going to go and tell everyone, and then what do? You get qualified clients. People are going to give it all, and people who are going to see the value in what you do, because I know you love what you do, you absolutely love it, and you love delivering this service. This is more than just a business. This is your passion, um,
Yeah.
and to deliver that to people is so important, and it's enriching. So you're
Mm.
enriching other people's lives as well as yourself. So having those small amount of clients, eventually that's going to grow, but it's going to grow to a client base that is a community rather than just here, there, or everywhere,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
You're so right. You're so right. And I know we're going on various tangents, so we'll come
I
back.
did. I told you we'll get there. Like it's all going to be wavy. It's fine.
But the final point, which you kind of brought up there, which reminded me, was when you start operating from a position of abundancy,
Mm.
your actions change. And I know we come back to love and relationships, but I guess business is very similar. Is many people listening and watching can relate. When you're in relationships, it seems like everyone wants you. Your DMs start blowing up.
Hmm.
Whether or not you've posted a photo with your partner, just suddenly it's like something in the world has told all
I
the
know.
females or the men out there, this person's now taken, and now you get all these offers. But when you're single, your DMs are quiet. No
Yeah.
one's going to date with you. And what happens is it's this operating from abundancy. When you're in a relationship, your actions change. When a girl messages you, you don't care about what you're typing to her because you're in a relationship. So you just respond very nonchalantly. You get back to her within a couple of days. But then they're like, wow, this guy's of high value. And it's the same when you're in scarcity. Actually, now you're responding a lot quicker. You're thinking too much into the message. So therefore, they may respond differently.
Mm.
So people always wonder, I'm in a relationship and no one wants me. It's the same in business. When you've got a couple clients, it's not the fact that you're advertising, that you're working with these clients. It's a case that your actions are now changing. When clients reach out to you, you take a day to get back to them, because you are so busy. So they're like, wow. And when you say to them, which I now do, sorry, I can't let you know when we can work together until June.
Mm.
That's like, this was like 3 months ago.
That's
For
awesome.
them, they're like, I'm doing a dog panting thing if you're not watching. Um,
Yeah, if you're watching, just try not to let that live long in the memory. That was good.
wow. That hurts in my chest area. I really thought I looked good doing that.
Yeah, I think that's they call that keeping your well full. If you live by the abundancy principle,
Yeah.
if your actions change, so you're always keeping your options there.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and that's really, really important because it just says something
Yeah.
to
I agree,
to
man.
people. And I think I can't believe that you've got like basically a 3 month waiting list. Like that's crazy. Like that's
Well,
amazing. Thoroughly deserved, but
I pushed it all to June and July, and
yeah, of
I
course.
think that's the beautiful thing about money own business.
Mm.
But let's get back to speed reading. Let's get back to what the people want to hear.
So yeah, you know what? We had some crazy questions on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I had loads, but I didn't think
Cool.
it would blow up as much as I expected.
That means a lot.
But so what are the benefits of speed reading? That's what a lot of people want to hear because, they know what it is now essentially,
Yeah.
and why you do it as a business and how it came about. But, what are the benefits apart from reading fast?
Faster. Yeah, of course. So what I love is it's a superpower, one which you can turn on
I love that.
and off when you need it.
I love that.
So the idea is when you're watching a film, you don't want to put the film on 2 times because you've set aside 2 hours to enjoy the film.
Hmm.
So why would you do the same with a book where you sat down and you want to take your time with it? Speed reading is a skill which you use to get the most amount of information in a minimal amount of time.
Cool.
Okay. So the benefits of it are in high pressure situations. For example, you have a deadline due in a couple of days or a couple of hours. You have a meeting that you need to go into and you're not prepped for the meeting for many corporates and they have 10 minutes, whilst they go to the toilet to quickly read the agenda. It's also very effective for picking up people in a crowd
Hmm.
because what we train on the course is controlling your eye fixations, which is where your eye
Ah,
is still on a page. So if you can improve your visual, um, damn it, I've lost the word now.
you'll get it. You'll get it.
Wow, the speed readers and the memory transfer got the key word. It is
Scope.
scope. No, it's in the corner of your eye. What is it called?
Vortex. I don't know.
It will come to me. Peripheral vision. That
Peripheral
was the key
vision.
word I was
Awesome.
looking for.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool little thing I just did there.
Tell me.
Focus mode of thinking is when you focus so hard on the task at hand that you can't see any other answers. So
Brilliant.
right there, I was like, what's the word? What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? And I was going back to the same word, which was visual span. And it's hard to look at any other answer.
That's awesome.
Then the moment I relaxed, which many people go take a walk or a shower, the answer came to me. So literally, you probably had the audio. As soon as I
Yeah.
relaxed, which I trained myself, it came to me. That's called
That's amazing.
diffuse mode of thinking. So, geeky subject, search up diffuse mode of thinking to help you with problem solving. And this is
Brilliant.
where studies like taking a walk, having a shower, going for a drive, that's where you get your best ideas.
Mm.
I always have
I've
my
noticed that.
phone nearby when I'm in the shower because when I'm in the shower, scrub it up, dubbing.
Get an idea. Notes.
Yeah, 100%. Tim Ferriss has a waterproof whiteboard in the shower.
You mean when you're not singing Kendrick in the shower? That's what you mean when you're not. We're not blazing out money
Spitting
trees, and he's like,
fire.
oh damn.
So, yes, speed reading helps with picking out people in a crowd because you can train your peripheral vision, your eye fixations. What other great benefits come with it? Of course, you apply it to the right material, you can earn more money. You can become better relationships. You can run a better business because you can start reading books, taking in PDFs faster. So you can get the information that you need because it's information just in time, not just in case. That makes sense.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, we live in an information overload society where there is information on anything, how to tie your laces, to
Mhm.
how to throw the perfect jab. The key thing is it's time. It's one thing we can't get back. So you need to understand,
Finite currency.
yeah,
Yeah.
just in time as opposed to just in case. So those are the benefits of speed reading is it allows you to get the information you need at the relevant time in the most effective way.
That's incredible. I hope you guys are writing this down who are listening to this. Because I was skeptical, to be quite honest.
Mm,
And then you delivered a talk at Bath Entrepreneurs, and I was just blown away.
thank you.
And you did this one exercise, which is sticking your tongue to the roof of your mouth
Yeah,
and reading.
yeah,
So, am I right in thinking that you can most people rather,
yeah.
only read as far as they can say in their mind, something along those lines? Is that
Yes,
right?
it is. And this is one of the most notorious habits. Is speed reading is pretty much in the simplest sense, we're breaking old reading habits.
Yeah.
For many of us, we haven't had a class called reading since the age of 10 or 12.
Mm.
Um, and for some of us, never. You know, we don't get taught how to read. But yet every other subject gets progressively harder. So expected to
Yeah.
keep up with a reading speed of a 10, 12-year-old. So what we have to do is we have to break a habit of a lifetime. One of
Difficult.
them is sub-vocalization. Big word alert.
Write that down.
Yeah, sub-vocalization. And to put it in the simplest sense, it's that little voice you use in your head when you're reading.
Hmm.
And if you don't think you have a voice, well, it's that voice telling you you don't have a voice in your head, right?
Precisely. That's brilliant. Yeah.
And you're only going to become aware of it probably now. And you use it when you're reading. And so many of us were taught to read aloud because that's how you learn a language. I'm
Of
learning
course.
Spanish right now. So if you can't pronounce the words, you don't understand them. Then what happens? This is elementary level reading. There's 4 stages of reading. We won't go into that now. You then taught to read in your head because, of course, that's meant to be faster.
Mm.
But the problem is you can only read as fast as you can talk.
Hmm.
So the average talking speed is between 200 to 300 words per minute, unless you're Tony Robbins, who can speak at 500 words per minute.
Yeah, that guy can just spew
Yeah.
information like no tomorrow. He's incredible. What a
Mm.
guy. Yeah.
And if you don't know who Tony Robbins is, that's your homework.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to set you tasks at the end, like,
And that's for
come
sure.
back for next week's assignment. But yeah, Tony Robbins is one hell of a guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you'll find is if you want to increase your reading speed, you need to start to see the words as opposed to hearing them.
Yeah.
And one way we do that is by introducing a low level distraction. So what
Okay.
Thomas was on about with pressing your tongue to the top of your mouth is the geeky science behind it is your brain can't focus on two things effectively at once.
Hmm.
An example I'll give you is when you're driving a car and you're driving on the motorway, and then you've got someone next to you as well, and you're having a conversation with them. The conversation is taking more the cognitive aspect of your brain because driving on a motorway, if it's clear, requires very little skill.
Hmm.
For many people, you'll be driving for half an hour and you'll be like, Jesus, how the hell did I get here? And you
Like
can't remember.
autopilot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that level of mastery takes very little cognitive effort. So you can focus more on the conversation next to you. I'm doing small
Hmm.
circle, big circle.
Small circle, big circle again. Yeah.
However, when you hit the city, especially London City, and you've got cameras, lights,
Oh, let's not go
pedestrians, all
there.
sorts, yeah, I've got so many fines. we
Have
won't
you?
talk,
Oh,
we
man.
won't talk about the London British Department of Transport.
No,
What
let's
we
not go
will
there.
talk
We'll
about
do
right now,
politics next episode.
what we will talk about right now is when you hit the city, your cognitive aspect of your brain now has to be taken up with driving.
Yeah.
So now 70% of it has to be focused on your driving ability, and the conversation now is reduced to probably 30%. And
Mm.
you'll often find someone will be talking to you, you'll be driving, you'll be like, so what did you say? Or, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. because you can't focus on two things
Can you turn
effectively
the
at
radio
once.
down to focus on the road? That's one of
Mm,
those things, isn't it? But it's
one of
true.
those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes when I'm really stressed, I have to turn the music off to focus.
absolutely.
Yeah, which is crazy. But what you'll find is the same with reading. Is our brain can't focus on two things effectively at once.
Mm.
So by pressing the tongue to the top of your mouth, it's such a low-level distraction that your brain struggles to focus on the voice inside your head, allowing you to read effectively. So now your brain can focus more on reading, and it takes only a little bit of effort to keep that tongue to the top of your mouth. It can't do that third thing, which is the voice in your head.
Mm.
Another thing, because many people find the tongue doesn't work, you can tap on your leg. Don't tap on the table because that can be annoying to people
Yeah,
next
of
to you.
course.
Tapping on your leg is actually a really good pacer for keeping a rhythm when you're reading.
See, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Never thought of it.
And
It
to
almost
me,
seems like an art and a science.
yes, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's these things that I'm constantly testing. So,
Mm.
I'm in the field, I'll read some studies about this. I'm like, okay, let's try this. And I learn just as much from the people I teach as they learn from me.
So what have you seen? What's been kind of like your biggest, I suppose, revelation? Because I know you're always trying to better yourself and better these types of studies and things like that. What has really surprised you? You've been like, wow, I can't believe that worked. Because what I did last night is I was speaking to my sister and I told her about the tongue
Mm.
and she did it. And my God, if you saw, I should have filmed her reaction. She just went, what? If you can't see, if you're not watching, my mouth is just like wide open. But she was just shocked. She was like, it works. It works. I was like, yeah, it works. Like, don't worry. We were in a room of like 60 of us at the entrepreneur evening, and everyone else was exactly the same. It's
And
crazy.
it seems so simple, right? It
Oh,
seems so
absolutely. Yeah.
basic. And this is what I love is I keep it very surface level.
Yeah.
I say it in layman terms, simple terms,
Hmm.
which, yeah, to many people, like, he doesn't know what he's on about because there's no science behind it. But then if you put your hand up and ask, okay, why? I can give you more. I can give you more. I can tell you what part of the brain is working at what point. But the biggest revelation for me was that no speed reading companies today are teaching memory. And if they are teaching memory, they're teaching it after.
Uh-huh.
What I found was all these people, and I was going on all these workshops, and I still do, they were leaving with reading speeds of 1,500 words per minute, which it took me 3 years to get. And
That's
these people were
crazy.
doing it in one session. Um, and then they were asking them, okay, how much did you comprehend? And Jimmy next to me would be like, 80%. I'd be like, is anyone going to test Jimmy? Or are we just going to take Jimmy's word that
Yeah.
he understood 80%?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, Jordan, I'm like, well, I read that at 700 words per minute because this was a topic I didn't know and understood 70%. And Jimmy's now all smug. So
Right.
what I found was, one, there was no quantitative way to measure people's comprehension
Hmm.
because these speed readers just wanted simply to say, oh, yes, you can improve your reading speed by four times. And by
Yeah.
the end of this, you'll be reading over 1,000 words per minute.
Again, an arbitrary number.
An arbitrary number, correct. But for me, it was a case of, okay, how much does Jimmy remember a day later, a week later, a month later? And can he remember that if we're training memory afterwards? Various studies have said that if you don't have the techniques in place to comprehend, it's no point of reading fast because it's just not going to go in.
Yeah, this is something we got a question about.
Mm.
So I mentioned that this was speed reading. Students are going to be particularly interested in this,
Yeah.
revision and stuff like that. But how much can you actually retain? Because from the surface of it, you think, okay, great, I can read quickly. You can read a book a day,
Mhm.
which is something I wish I could do, but I'm going to work on it, I promise. But, how much of it do you actually take in and absorb? And because otherwise it becomes kind of pointless, I suppose.
Yes,
If you can
100%.
read quickly, okay, great. But why do you read? Why do we do it to take in information? We do it to learn. We do it to develop ourselves. If you can't take anything in,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything. So one of the questions just was, how do you comprehend those types of things, and
Yeah.
how do you retain information? And are there any particular kind of ways in which you do that, a method, strategies, those
Excellent.
types of things?
And I'll give you that now, and I hope in the show notes you'll put like kind of timestamps of where
Yeah,
this
it'll be
is. Yeah,
timestamps. Yeah.
excellent. Number one, Dale Carnegie once said that knowledge is not power until it's applied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple sense that you can have this awesome bookshelf, and I've actually sold a lot of my books.
Have
I
you?
probably, yeah, because for
I'm
me,
hoarding them at the moment. I've got a massive collection down the side of my bed that I'm working through, and I've just bought another three from Amazon this morning. So,
shame, shame on you. Look at you, your little guilty fetish.
trust me, it is at the moment.
Uh,
What, imagine someone asked me on a first date, "What's your guilty fetish?" Books.
hey, each to their own. But to come back to that, if you're not applying the knowledge, it's useless. So the one way that you can do it is by testing yourself. So after you've read a chapter, let's get rid of this illusion of learning. So show of hands, who in here highlights as you read? I'm guilty of it as well, right? So when you're highlighting as you're reading, you know, there's this conscious bias of, yeah, I've remembered this because I've highlighted it, right? I'm guilty of it. I still do it occasionally.
course.
You think if you've highlighted it, it's stored in your memory. But what we need to get over is familiarization is not the same as memorization.
Right.
Okay, I'll say that again. Familiarization is not the same as memorization. So when you see something, you're like, oh, yeah, I understand that topic. No. Do you really understand it? Can you teach someone else? That's
Hmm.
memorization. So what I would suggest is once you read a chapter or section or an article or paragraph, look away, close the book, and literally self-test yourself in your head or speak it aloud. Be like, okay, so Abraham Lincoln, he traveled to that country and then he did this, and then when he met that person, he got that. Okay, wait, what happened when he reached England? Uh, And then what happens, this beautiful thing about self-testing, two things. One, you realize how much you actually do remember.
Hmm.
So we get rid of this illusion of learning. And number two, we identify gaps in your knowledge. So you can't remember what Abraham Lincoln was doing in England. So you're like, oh shit, I need to go back because I actually don't know that.
Hmm.
And that's the great thing of teaching people what you've just learned. They say something once taught is twice learned. So after listening to this podcast, I encourage you to share what you've learned. Tell people about diffused and focused mode of thinking. Tell people about sub-vocalization.
Yeah.
Tell people about self-testing and closing the chapter. Because when you're teaching someone, you're actively having to go through this process of recall. So finding information in your brain. The great thing about that, if you're looking to do public talks, you'll get faster and more effective at speaking because you can retrieve what you need faster. And number two, you actually realize how much you do or don't know about the topic.
Yeah.
And it may require you to go back and review it. And what I say about highlighting is it's a great tool to assist memory. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is you highlight the key bits of information, 100% keep doing that.
Hmm.
Close the book, test yourself, then open the book, and now make it easier for yourself to find the answers. Oh, yep, got the first
I
highlight.
see what you mean.
Ah,
Yeah.
missed the second highlight, and that was a key bit of information. And that's what he was doing in England. Okay, yep, got the third one, got the fourth one, got the fifth one. So you remember there was 5 highlights that you made. Okay, I can only
Yeah.
remember 4 of the 5. So to answer that question in the most practical sense without working with an individual, and of course, for it to be widespread, once you've read something, look away, close the book, test yourself, then review, see if you got the answers, and continue reading.
That's fantastic. I'm sure everyone will be happy to hear that. I mean, I was definitely I had the same sort of question when, we first met. I was just
Mm.
like, what is the point? How do you absorb information otherwise? Yeah, but that's absolutely fantastic. I don't think you could have answered that any better, to be
Thank
honest. We do have just another question. We've got tons more things I want to talk about, but one of the other questions I got was a lot of people hate reading, including myself. This isn't me. This is some question that we had. Even recreationally, what can motivate people to read?
that's
So me and you are massive advocates of reading.
yeah.
I mean, you can read a book a day. I'm not quite there, but I think it's one of the greatest things we can do. I want to know what motivates you to read recreationally or educationally or to better your craft. I
Yeah.
think I've sort of answered it there in one sense.
So let's start with the first one, which is how do you create a reading habit? I hope I'm answering that question
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, how do you create a habit? Now, if we look at Charlie Duhigg's habit cycle, there's 3 parts to creating a habit. Number 1 is a cue.
Hmm.
Number 2 is the routine. And number 3 is the reward. All habits operate, as he found, on these 3 principles in that order. It's very
Right.
sequential. Number 1 is the cue. So someone who wants to stop overeating, we have to look at their habits. Okay, so the cue is they get home from work and they're hungry. The routine is they go to the cereal cupboard and they pour themselves, a bowl of cereal, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same for students too.
Yeah.
And number three is the reward is they feel satisfied. They quench their hunger,
Mm.
or they satisfy their hunger, should I say. So, okay, someone who wants to lose weight, we need to change this habit. The way you change a habit is you change either the routine or the reward,
Hmm.
okay? Because that reward could be detrimental to that person's health,
Of
such
course.
as eating a cookie, having a fag, whatever,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, the cue is you get home, okay, and you want to lose weight. So the routine could then be you get in and you pack your gym clothes, okay?
Ah, okay.
The reward is you get your cereal after the gym. Okay, so we're changing the routine. The cue is you get home. Routine is you get your gym bag, and then
Hmm.
the reward is you get your bowl of cereal. Now, for many people now, how do we make the routine easier? Well, you pack your gym bag the night before, so there's no excuse, or you leave it by the front door. So you literally get in, you drop your stuff off,
Hmm.
you grab your bag, and you go. Okay, we'll take another reward. Let's look at reading a book. Um, So you want to read more, and you want to read whilst you're in bed. The cue is you get into bed, and you want to relax. The routine is you go on your phone. The reward is you get the hit of dopamine, and you tire yourself out. You go to sleep. Okay. So the cue is you get into bed. Okay. So now the routine is you read in bed, and the reward is then you get to go on your phone. Okay.
Okay.
So then you still get the dopamine. We'll just change the routine. Now, how do we make sure the routine is easily done? And this is called resistance to activity. So they say that the first, I think it's like 3 or 10 seconds, and this is where procrastination comes in, because our
Hmm.
brain doesn't like pain. Our brain will do anything to get away from pain. If you can get past the first 10 seconds of doing an activity, just sit there and get on with it, you'll find that you can get to the next minute. And they find that once I think it's 5 minutes into the activity, you'll be okay. So what do we need to do to reduce resistance, apologies? Well, we need to start having a book on our bedside table.
Yeah.
Why? Because you have no excuse now that you need to get out of bed. It is right there. The next thing is you start a small habit, is you read for 2 minutes. Why 2 minutes, I hear you all asking. 2 minutes is such a small objective that it seems so small that you're like, cool, it's easy to do. You
Yeah.
know, 2 minutes is nothing. It's like, 2 pages for people who aren't speed readers.
Yeah. So for you,
But if
it's
you
what,
want
a
to become a
paragraph?
speed reader, and then what you'll find is you'll read longer than 2 minutes. Why? It's because you've got past that resistance. So, having it on your bedside table, read for only 2 minutes each night. And the third thing about this is that you start being consistent with it. Because as we know, it takes 21 days, some arguments say 60 days to start a habit. But to simply form a habit, you need to be doing it on a consistent basis. So if you're reading for 2 minutes every night in bed, it's such a small goal that you will be able to do this near enough every night without fail. And then you still get your reward of going on your phone. And this is called
Hmm.
defeating the procrastination zombie. It's the
Wow.
idea that in the
That's
morning,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little term I coined.
Oh, did you
It's,
coin it?
yeah,
Oh, it's even cooler now.
I need
Okay.
something out of that. But it's this idea that when we wake up in the morning, we instantly go onto our phones, we check our Instagram because we want to
Mhm.
hit dopamine. Because our procrastination zombie doesn't want to face reality and check our emails, or some people like their emails, or get out of bed and get the day going. So for the first 10 minutes of your day, say no to the procrastination zombie because this is exercising your willpower. You need to show that no, in fact, I'm in charge and not you, procrastination zombie. And for the first 10 minutes, you read the book that you need to read. You learn the language you need to on whatever app you use. And then as a reward, now you can check social media, right? Start your day off by being in control of your habits because, Thomas, if you control your habits and you protect them, one day your habits will protect you.
Wow.
And if people allow their procrastination zombie to take over, you will never go to the gym when you want to. You
Hmm.
will never lose the weight you want to. You will never start the reading habit. You need to start putting systems in place to create these habits. So if you want to read more and you want to enjoy it, is number one, create a reading habit.
Hmm.
Have a book on your bedside table, read for 2 minutes. I encourage you to stick to that 2 minute rule and then reward yourself with whatever the hell you want to do. And number two, some people simply don't like reading. I know this is going to sound like controversial coming from the speed reader.
Hmm.
Some people simply will not love reading. Why would I get anyone to do something they don't love?
Yeah, of
You
course.
know, they
Of
say
course.
you can't make a horse drink from water, or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't
But
make
you
it
can't
drink
make it drink. Yeah,
unless you put some salt in that water.
of
Oh,
course.
in his food, and then he'll want to drink the water, right?
It's got no choice then.
It's got no choice. So that's the same. Is we read when we have to,
Yeah.
when we need to, but not when we want to. Um, and so what I'd recommend is find other ways to take information in, audible, videos, find
Us.
podcasts, wink.
Wink. Good timing. That was
Yeah.
brilliant.
So for me to be completely transparent with you all, if you generally do like reading, but you struggle fitting it into your
Mhm.
schedule, set aside, wake up 10 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
spend 2 minutes extra in bed before going to your phone. If you don't like reading, I can't install that in you. You've got
Mhm.
to find that passion. Find other ways, and double down on those.
I think one of the things that we should kind of establish is that it's some people do love reading the physical. For example, I cannot stand Kindles or anything like that. I love the physical nature of
Yeah,
having a book.
yeah.
It's something weird about the smell and collecting them and then being there. That's why I hoard them so much.
And it's better for your memory.
And is it? Tell me how.
Yes. It's called
I'm
visual
interested.
spatial memory. So with a
Wow. Okay.
Kindle, we don't have any touch, we don't have any other sense to go off.
Ah,
With a book, you can actually remember like the feel of the page, especially if there's an important bit of information.
mhm.
You may notice there's like a coffee stain on that page. You may have dog marked it and you struggled to dog mark it. And it took you a little bit longer to dog mark it. It's all these little hooks that your brain can use.
Yeah.
Maybe you struggled opening the page flat to highlight and you remember how much of a struggle it was to open the page up,
You're right. I
you
mean,
know?
there's a book I've been reading lately, and
Yeah,
there is one page that I continue to return to a number of times, and that
yeah,
page is just wrecked. For the rest is so,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think it's something about that. It's not about encouraging people to read. I
No.
think the question that we've, had is how,
How do you
what
best
can
learn?
motivate? Yeah, how do you best learn?
Mm,
And I think that's the thing that we need to focus on is I read because it's a way of retaining and gaining information, bettering myself in some way, shape, or form. But you can get that anywhere. You can do that via podcasts or audiobooks. The reason why I do it is simply I like reading. I think there's a combination between, the relaxing aspect. I read before I go to
mm,
bed. I do read in the morning. I do it when I've got some spare time.
yeah,
But equally, I'll use audiobooks or podcasts. Just anything, and it's the outcome rather than the input, I suppose, that what matters most in that sense.
I agree. I agree. And you've got a why. That's what makes you
Yes.
different. You're
Yeah.
learning more so you can become a better person, so you can have a better
Hmm.
business, so you can have better social life, right?
Hmm.
So it makes it a whole lot easier to get your head in that book, even when you don't want to.
Yeah. And I just wanted to return, what you said about habits, about just in the morning, just say those 2 minutes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think habitual processes are so important because I can't remember who it was, but he spoke about a routine is one thing, but what's more important is having routines for your routines. So
Yeah.
essentially, it's
How do you protect?
how do you protect your routine
Yeah.
by having routines and
Good.
habits,
Yeah. Because we're
which
humans, we
people don't
will
think
we
about.
will find a way to get around something.
Absolutely,
You know.
absolutely. Well, I tell you what, that was fantastic. I've got a number of things.
Hey, we can do two more questions.
Two more questions.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a question for you,
Okay, hit me.
really, and it's not necessarily related to speed reading, or it is related to your business as well. But you mentioned you do martial arts. You're also a triple jumper, right? Is that right?
Yeah, although I've taken a
Ah,
break,
Are you
and I'll
taking
be
a break?
and I'll be putting a video out about that shortly. We'll
Awesome.
continue.
Definitely should check those out. So you run a business.
Yeah.
You a very successful business, we should say.
Thank you.
You've been at university. You've been a student. You actually do the same degree that I do, which is sport and social science. Can't wait for that dissertation. Um, you're an athlete, um, and you're a very sociable person as well. And I think what people would be interested to know is how do you balance
Mm.
all that intensity, and does things like martial arts and partaking in sport help take away from that stress, because we've spoken about habits, and the thing is, it all intertwines, right?
It does.
So if you give the listeners kind of like an insight into that and how you do all this, because I think it's tough, especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And to add to that list, I'm now learning Spanish, but not
And you're
just
now
learning.
learning Spanish, of course.
Yeah, but I
In
want.
fact, you wrote a fantastic LinkedIn post yesterday, which everyone should go and read. It's about, you never know who's listening. I'm not going to tell them what it is. I'm going to link it down below, but it was fantastic and it really
Thank
made
you.
me smile. Really made me smile.
That means a lot to me. That means a lot. Um, and what I really want to get onto is number one is I have a purpose with all these, with all the things that I do in my life. It's
Yeah.
not just because it's cool or it
Hmm.
keeps me out of trouble. I want to be literally a human vessel, which is so self-efficient. I want
Yeah.
to be able to protect myself, survive in any country, earn my own money, literally all by myself. I
Um,
literally want to be able to walk around, and I think that's anyone's goal,
yeah.
and be a machine
Yeah.
in the sense I can talk to almost any culture because I know a little bit about it, and
Hmm.
to them it means the world. But let's get on to why do I do so much? It started out once again. I started the business. I tore my
Hmm.
hamstring, complete rupture of my right hamstring when I did triple
Um,
jump, and this was about 3 years ago. And I was sat in bed, and up to that point, I was the athlete. For many people listening, we all have some sort of identity.
yeah.
You know, Thomas the hurdler, James the boxer, Jordan the triple jumper, right? My friends admired me as the triple jumper. I
Yeah.
had a lot of respect and love because I was a top triple jumper. But at this moment, I was an athlete. And you hear about a lot of people hitting depression, right?
Hmm. Of course.
For me, whilst I sat in bed, I was like, well, I can go on my laptop, my fingers work, so let's Google how to start a business. And this was before I was a speed reader. This was just me sat there, and I was like,
Really? Okay.
okay. So for the months of rehab, I fell in love with this world of entrepreneurship. So what I found was, okay, my athletics life was to shit, to put it politely.
Yeah.
But now my business, my entrepreneurship was like thrilling and exciting,
The fire
right?
was burning. Yeah.
Yeah. Then, of course, taking a break from triple jump, I went to martial arts, and then started learning Spanish. And of course, every weekend, that's when I have my social life, and it's lit. And what's really important, I'm just gonna say,
Awesome.
is
It's
that I
lit.
don't put it on my story often.
I mean, it's probably a wise idea. I've done it too many
Yeah.
times where people are like, Tom, mate, chill out.
So what I really want to communicate is not having a single identity, because what
Absolutely.
happens is
Cannot
when
agree
that
more.
one identity is going bad, you have nothing else to, fall
Hmm.
back on. And my mindset is so strong, and I'm very lucky. I feel like we all suffer with depression. Depression is simply when you're feeling shit, but then many of us get back out of it.
Hmm.
Depression is a fact, and I'm not a health psychologist. I don't have a degree in it.
Hmm.
Depression is when you feel shit and you can't get out of it. That's my
Yes.
simple terms of depression, is when you feel shit and you simply just can't come back up.
Hmm.
Um, I go day to day saying it's another day in paradise. You have to change the way you talk. When people
Hmm.
ask me how am I feeling, I say tremendous, wonderful, fantastic. I always start it with the first letter of the day. Why?
That's awesome.
Breaks the habit of us being lazy, efficient humans of I'm good, thanks for asking.
Hmm.
I'm okay, how are you? Because when you say I'm tremendous, people are like, what the fuck? Like literally, try it. I promise you, another thing you need to
I'm
put
gonna
on your
try that
homework.
today. I'm heading to the gym
What?
after this
Yeah,
podcast. So when
today's
I'm
Thursday.
gonna see them, I'm gonna be like, okay, tremendous.
Yeah,
I want to see what
and
happens. I'll let you know.
amount, yeah, amount of people that will actually continue a conversation like, oh, tell me more. Why? What's going on?
It's amazing
And
how far it goes, right?
mm, and oh, freaking hell, we're going on another topic, talking
It's
about
cool.
breaking
Go for it.
habits and starting conversations. But if you say to someone, "How's your Thursday going?" Watch their face. Watch when you ask them. I'm sorry, I should have put it in more practical sense. How is your insert the day?
Mhm.
So how is your Friday going? Oh, how's your Saturday going?
How is
Now,
that? Is that any different to how is your day going?
100%, it is massively
Ah,
different because
okay.
us as humans, we have this habit loop, which is when someone asks us how's your day going, Thomas? You answer, yeah, it's going well, thank you. How's yours? No one says, oh, I'm having a shit day. Because if you said, oh, I'm having a shit day, you're
Bye.
like, well then.
Yeah, of course.
So you want to have better conversations with people? Break the habit loops.
Mm.
And you can do that by breaking and chucking in words that will disrupt their patterns. So by simply saying, how is your Thursday going? People will be, you have to stop and think, okay, shit, is it Thursday? Yeah, it is Thursday. And how is my Thursday actually going? And you're going to have so much better conversations with people.
Mm.
I promise you, I can put money on it. Please, 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 just ask people how it is they insert the day and respond when someone asks you how you are with the letter beginning with the day. So fantastic, marvelous, tremendous,
What an
wonderful.
amazing takeaway for the people listening. That's
Yeah,
incredible. Yeah,
and because
amazing takeaway.
it makes you be present for a moment. It really
Mm.
does. And the reason why I say it's another day in paradise, at the beginning it was like an old funny saying,
Yeah.
but now I generally believe it. Like I wake up, it's that gratitude,
Hmm.
idea. I'm above the earth right now. I'm like, and if I don't watch the news,
Oh,
I
it's
don't watch the
so good to
news.
hear. Oh, do you not
Yeah,
at all?
no, not no. It's different podcast, different story.
Oh, there'll be
Um,
another one. Don't worry.
thank you. But for me, it's a case of like, you don't need to read about someone dying today to realize it's out there, it's happening. Everyone knows someone who has
Yeah,
passed away
absolutely.
suddenly. We won't go too much into it. Um, but we talk about why I do so much, and it's purely the sense of all we have is this present moment. So
Absolutely.
I don't work ridiculous hours. I wake up, I get my 8 hours, so I wake up at 9 or 10. I go to bed at midnight or 1. Um, what I do is whilst I'm awake. I think that's the important question: is what you're doing
Yeah.
whilst you're awake. And so I'll try and talk people through my day, and I might give them an insight into how I
That'd be
balance it all.
fantastic. Yeah.
Beautiful. First thing I do in the morning is jump on my Babel app, which I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's my it's my language learning application. Once again, with juice and resistance, we never are out of arm reach from my phone, so I can practice Spanish straight away.
Brilliant.
Whilst I'm eating breakfast, I limit myself, and Gary Vee did an awesome video on this. If you don't know who Gary Vee is, check it out. Um, about why the fuck does he eat so fast? Because he's got shit to do.
That's,
It's, yeah,
I don't think it's about stuff like that, but yeah, it's where your priorities lie. I mean, I'm a massive
100%.
foodie. Eating fast is just
Yeah.
not a thing. It's not a thing I need to enjoy and
All in
savor.
context, all in relevance.
Yeah, of course.
So, wake up, go on my Spanish app. Then, whilst I'm eating breakfast, I'm responding to all my social media messages. I'm a
Hmm.
huge believer that I will respond to everyone, and I forever will be. It's not automated. I don't care how
Giving
big I
that
get.
value back.
Yeah. Because I remember when I was that one guy knocking on someone's door. Once I've answered all my social media messages, I then watch my Spanish Jane the Virgin in the background.
It's a good program, Jane
It
the
is.
Virgin. I
It
started
is.
watching it. I was like, whoa, this is actually
Ah,
damn good.
bloody emotional roller coaster.
Don't
Uh,
I'm only in the first series. Don't ruin it for me.
Me too. So wake up, practice my Spanish, respond to emails, social media messages whilst Jane the Virgin is in the background. Then I sit myself at my desk or wherever I am in the world,
Mhm.
because you need to get yourself out of your comfort zone. You need to separate
Yeah.
relaxation and work.
Hmm.
Um, I have a Trello, another thing I recommend people
Incredible.
checking out. And I have a time matrix, Stephen Covey's, where I have urgent and important, urgent, not important, and so on and so forth. The idea is, regardless of what happens that day, I need to get my urgent and important tasks done.
Yeah.
And that is checked throughout the day. And then before I go to bed, that list is full. So I know waking up, brain wants to be efficient. I can relax. I know just go on that board. Okay, it's what we've got to do today. Let's get it done. Work through that throughout the day. I then usually finish about 5:30, because then I have martial arts at 7. I have to travel to get there.
Okay.
Um, and what's great about that is, yeah, you get to switch off. You get to actually pull yourself away from
Hmm.
work. So whilst many people are now getting home and relaxing, I'm now going martial arts for 2, 3 hours, training a skill which I hope I never have to use. But it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Of
And
course.
the martial arts for me now, I'm such an advocate for, because the ability to protect your own life and to protect other people's, you can't put a price on that.
Again, I can attest to that. Yeah, I did kickboxing for a long, long time. Became a black belt, and
Wow.
although not doing it now, one of the greatest skills I've ever learned.
100%. So, after that, I come home and it's now like 10 o'clock. I'll eat. I'll watch a couple of my videos I've saved on YouTube that I want to watch, all relevant and personal development. And then I'll finish the night off with social media, checking on that. I use it massively for the business.
Hmm.
And then probably one last exercise on Spanish, whether that's speaking to people in Spanish on my phone, or actually going through applications. And that's what a basic day looks like for me. Nothing crazy.
Routines for your routines.
Yes. And then you might be out on the road, but I still find a way to get it all in. So that's how I do so much. It's not a crazy 3 a.m.
Hmm.
start. It's probably less hours than what most people do.
Well, it's finding what works for you, as
Yeah.
we've mentioned a few times throughout this.
Yeah.
Well, we're approaching an hour in the podcast. Well, we've just passed an hour, and I know that you've got stuff to do as well. I just want to say thank you so much for being on today. But the way I want to end this and future podcasts is I have one last question to ask you. And it's, if you could tell the younger Jordan Harry three things, if you give three pieces of advice to the younger Jordan Harry, say, when you were 12, when you were 15, 16, and hopefully some takeaways that the people can, amongst all the takeaways that you've already given them, which have been absolutely superb. Thank you so much for that. I'm definitely going to employ them. What would you say? Three things.
Thankfully, I've got that memory training, so that reads very quick to me. The first one would be talk to strangers, because everyone is a stranger until you get to know them, right? If your parents told you don't talk to strangers, I'm sorry, but that was the biggest fucking lie they told you.
Yeah.
Because Thomas was a stranger before we shook hands and I said, hi, my name's Jordan and you're Thomas. Okay, cool. We're not strangers no more. So I would have told 12-year-old Jordan, not that he was shy, but I would have been like, look, man, talk to freaking everyone and know that you can learn from everyone you meet. That's number one. Number two would be, I guess, don't do anything different, man. Like literally go out and continue what you're doing. Because if I stopped triple jump sooner and I did martial arts, I probably would have fell out of love sooner because I wasn't as strong and as fast and as switched on. I probably would have got hurt, probably never would have gone back to it, probably would have affected my it's this kind of butterfly effect. What's got me at this position? Yes, could I be somewhere further? But you never know.
Everything has got you to where you are today.
Yes. And so many people, especially leaving uni, you've got options. You will never know what plan B would have been. Doesn't matter how many times you play it over in your head and you do the calculations. You only know what the option you went for. You will never know what plan B was. So come to terms with that, become at peace with that, and just execute on what you've chosen. And as Thomas said before, I don't hope you don't mind, it's okay. Yeah, okay. It's okay to quit and fail fast. Don't waste time. If it's not right for you, move on. And the final one is be patient.
Yeah,
I think we've heard this a lot. Be impatient in the micro, but patient in the macro, in the sense of day to day, Jordan, like fucking kill it, man. Like get every day, like get the most from every day. Don't say no to that social event because you're tired, within reason, or don't say no to that meeting because it's an hour away. Go get it. But be patient in that client might not come through for another year. Be okay with that, Jordan. You're not going anywhere anytime soon within your control. So I would say speak to strangers. Don't change anything, like drastically, and then be patient.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And I'd be like, damn, you look good. Damn, you look fine.
Hell yeah. Do you know what? This far exceeded anything I thought this podcast was going to be like. It's been incredibly, incredibly empowering. Not only for myself, but I'm sure for those listening. Some great takeaway points, great tips. I've learned a shit ton. I'm definitely going to try and look more into speed reading.
And memory training.
So where can people find you? Your Instagram handles? I'm going to link them below anyway. But if you just want to shout them out, your businesses, your websites, all that kind of stuff.
What I love coming on these podcasts is, I make my millions. I will make my millions. From my corporate clients, not from online course sales. So if you listen to this podcast to help Thomas out as well, don't have to follow me, but find me on Instagram at Jordan Harry, 2 N's, 2 Y's. and just let me know that you came from this podcast, and then let me know what course you would like, whether it be the speed reading or the memory one, and I'll give you free access. Um, I mean that because my goal is to impact as many people as possible.
It's brilliant.
Like I said before, financially, there's no hidden tactic behind it. You can find my website, StudyFast. SEO is good now, so you can just type in
Awesome.
StudyFast. But yeah, feel free to just reach out to me, have a conversation. I love that. Like I said, I learned just as much from you as you will from me.
Hmm.
Thank you again, Thomas, for having me on. And remember, everyone, time is precious, so waste it wisely.
100%. I think that's the perfect way to round off. So thank you very much, Jordan. This has been absolutely fantastic.
De nada.
Can't thank you enough. Hey, there's the Spanish getting in there as well. Well, thank you so much again. Been brilliant. Take care, brother.